Good morning. Today is Wednesday, February 15th, 2023. With me today, I have the CEO of swisswatchexpo, Georgia's largest watch retailer and a serious force in online watch shopping. Eugene, how are you today?
I'm doing great. It's good to be here. It's good to be in town. Happen to be in town to visit my grandpa for his 90th birthday. He's been asking me, I think, for 3 years if I'm flying in for his 90th, and here
Finally
it is.
made it.
So finally made it. We both made it. So
It's good to have you here. Obviously, I know that we've known each other for a long time. Yeah. You're originally from Philadelphia. Following your journey online, I see you had a stop in New York, a stop in Chicago, and then ended up in Georgia. Mm-hmm. I know that you were always in the finance world.
Yep.
Tell me what happened. How did you end up going from finance into the watch retail space?
Sure. So it was an interesting path. I went to NYU for finance, econ, and math, and I was a credit derivative trader in New York for some of the biggest shops. I did that through the crisis. It was a lot of fun. My parents started this business in 2008, and I never really at that time thought I would be involved, but it kept growing. Majority of their sales were in Atlanta and also on eBay and some other marketplaces. And I joined the company about 6.5 years ago with the goal of building out a team, because it was just me, my parents, and a couple employees. And the goal was to build out the team, build out the processes, and build a name for ourselves online. So I would, stay home, read about SEO and social media and digital advertising, and would interview people and hire them and for the team or to help me with the advertising. And surely we started to grow pretty quickly. We've been averaging growth of about 35% since I joined, and we've become really a leader, one of the leaders in the space. And our focus is very much on the real pre-owned market. We buy watches that have been worn before. We have a 10-person watchmaking department in-house. We take those watches and we make them look and run as close to brand new as possible, and then we sell them either in our retail location in Atlanta or online on our website.
Very nice. Yeah. One of the Gray Market episodes, Roman and Adrian actually stopped by your location, and it looked amazing.
Thank you.
It definitely didn't look like a mom and pop, operation. So you coming in there has clearly transformed, the whole operation into what it is today, which, how many people do you have working there?
We're about 30 people full-time now.
So the pictures, Ian, can you throw up a picture of from your website? There's a great picture of you and the team.
Yeah.
It really looks amazing. It's something that I found to be very inspirational. Like you came in and you turned what could have potentially 5 years from then stayed the same. Maybe it have grown with the market, but you really transformed this business into becoming such a powerhouse and not just another small retailer. And I guess on that topic, one of the things that we saw during that video was the unbelievable service center that you just mentioned, with 10 people. How difficult was it to build something like that?
It's so my stepfather is a master watchmaker, and one of the reasons they started the business is because he had that expertise in authenticating, servicing, and repairing watches. So the first version of the business was him doing that work, and him and my mom would sell the watches on eBay. So that was how the business started originally. And after I came, he was the only one doing that kind of work. And quickly what happened was our sales started to grow once we took off online, and we needed more people for the team. Me coming from Wall Street, being naive, I was like, okay, well, let me throw a job on LinkedIn. Let me throw a job on Indeed. Weeks went by, and a few truck drivers applied, but nobody with like an actual relevant skill set to be able to do the work. So then I had to really go on the offensive and start to ask people for recommendations, message people, cold call people from all over the country, and fly them in for interviews. And slowly but surely, we built that team to be 10 people now.
That's amazing.
So we do all the repair, authentication, and service work in-house. And that team right now, about 200 watches a week go through their hands. So extremely high volume for this market.
Yeah, I remember, in the conversation that they had with you in the video, Roman asked if you guys take any outside business to actually service, and you said no. You're clearly busy enough with your own stuff that you don't need to bring in, outside service jobs for that. Mm-hmm. What's the average price point of the watches that you guys, buy, service, and retail?
So right now our average sale is about $9,000, but the majority of our sales are under $20,000. So we've never done any RMs before. We don't really, we rarely buy or sell pieces over $100,000. we cater our inventory to be accessible to the upper middle market consumer.
That's really, you got like a nice, niche there. It's probably the majority of watch buyers are within that range. Whereas a lot of people would, I want to sell RMs. It's mainly, I guess, for the prestige. In order to do that, you need to have a huge, huge source of funding to be able to buy and sell all these RMs.
Yep.
Whereas to buy and sell, typical Rolexes, Breitlings, Omegas, IWCs, there's more demand, I think, for that sort of product. And it's also more, I don't want to say accessible, but it's definitely, it's not as difficult, or it's not as financially, I guess, tasking to be able to buy those products, service them, and resell them.
For sure, it's a super high volume and lower margin business, and you need to have your operations running extremely perfectly to be able to handle that, because you're not working on one big sale to make a living. You're working on 30, 50, 60 transactions a day.
Wow. That is insane. And again, you have an entire sales team that just handles all the incoming traffic, for everybody that's looking for these. I'm assuming that you guys are also very competitive as far as pricing in order to gain a lot of this business and become known for, the destination for that sort of price point or those products.
Yeah. It's interesting. When I joined the business, for us to sell anything, because we didn't have a reputation, we had to be the cheapest online. Now we are priced competitively, but we also explain to customers, we already service the watch. If you buy from somebody that hasn't serviced the watch and you send it off for service, that's probably going to cost you up to $1,000, and you might not have the watch for 2-3 months. So you got a warranty from us. So there's a lot of things that we add on, such as you guys as well, which leads us to be able to sell inventory at fair prices, but not necessarily the cheapest price online, because we offer a lot of value beyond just the price.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. So just for some transparency's sake, we typically on an average month, we probably have $2 million worth of watches sitting in service. That's $2 million that we can't sell, we can't rotate. We've tried to, hire watchmakers. We've tried to purchase, operations that are already running. Mm-hmm. It's pretty much impossible. So you guys have really built something that's going to sustain and is going to keep your business running so smoothly and so well for a long time. Just because of that, that small aspect of the business, just the servicing, makes you so much more, what's the right word? It gives you so much more possibility to grow than it does for just an average, watch dealer that, okay, I'm just going to buy some watches, I'm going to sell them. It sounds simple, but the service itself is so time consuming, it's so expensive. I mean, we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on service, and that is taken out of the potential profit, which is why, it's unlikely that we could sell a watch and, make $500 on it, because that $500 is what we spent to actually get that watch polished, get that watch serviced, make sure it's working properly. Where you guys, yes, you have that cost built into the business, but it's definitely easier for you guys. I wanted to know, obviously the market has changed in the last 6 months, maybe a little bit longer. How has that
Can I just add something on the watchmaking team? You're absolutely hit the nail on the head, and that's really 10 of our over 30 employees are in that department. And my stepfather runs that team still, and they are very much the backbone of the business. They are the core of the business, and it's interesting how obsessive the guys that we hired in the department about the quality that comes out. They will constantly say, we can't ship this watch. There's this minor little mark on it. Mm-hmm. It has to go back to the shop and be like, I can't see anything. They're like, well, magnify it more. I'm like, okay, I don't think anyone's going to see it. They're like, no, we got to delay the shipment. This needs to be fixed before it goes out. So it's interesting when you have, they're technical and so obsessive about their craft. And they know they're very vital to the business, so that gives them a lot of pleasure.
Well, it's really good to be a perfectionist in that way. I'm the same way as you. I'm like, what do you mean? Just ship it. It's good to go. There's nothing visible. And, and somebody will come up, no, we can't. This is not perfect.
Exactly.
But I guess that earns you the reputation that you guys have been able to build, of being perfectionists.
And we constantly get emails and reviews where the customer will buy the watch and they'll send us, hey, I don't want to tell you, but I think you guys made a mistake. You told us you're selling us a used watch, but you actually shipped us the new one by accident because this is not used. We're like, It's used. It's just perfect.
That's amazing. Yeah. And the fact that obviously you offer a warranty, and
yep.
you're also like their go-to service center from then on.
Yes, exactly. So once you're our client, then we will service your other watches in your portfolio, but it's not something we're advertising to outside customers.
It's amazing. So that's actually a really good reason to become one of your customers. You know for a fact that your watches will be taken care of for life.
Yep.
Over the last 6 months, like I said, the market has changed. Have you felt any change, or how's that affected you guys both, brick and mortar or online? I mean, I know that obviously changing prices has affected everybody in some way, but have you felt it more in one way or another?
We felt it more online than the brick and mortar. There was a huge shift during COVID to online shopping. Mm-hmm. And we're now seeing, we have a retail location in Buckhead, Atlanta, which is a prime shopping district. We're a block from Hermes, and Montclair's around the corner. Oh. So we have a lot of retail customers that actually come to the store, and it's not uncommon. We'll have 12 individual sales in the store in one day, which is pretty high.
It's wild.
And we've seen a much bigger slowdown in online sales, whereas our in-store sales are actually up year over year, so that's very interesting. And I think it's people are going back to doing experiences and doing things in person. And I think you've seen that in Amazon doing some layoffs, and a lot of e-commerce companies are seeing that shift as well. You can only do so much business locally, so we still have to concentrate on online, but I think the next couple of years, the local business will be very strong.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of the brick and mortar when it comes to this product, because people want to feel it, they want to touch it, they want to see you in person, they want to feel comfortable, buying from you. So obviously, we had the opportunity to build YouTube content to allow us to connect with viewers and potential customers where they feel comfortable doing business with us. We don't have a brick and mortar location. We are, hopefully working on one. It's constantly a talk here. You have not gone that hardcore YouTube route. Any plans to do so? Is there anything that you would wish you started 6 months ago that you would do today?
I think you guys have done tremendously well on the content, and I think it's amazing. We do put out content. It's not, it hasn't taken off like what you guys are doing. We don't have any plans to significantly increase that investment. Also, I am a big believer in, we kind of know what we're working. I think over the next 5 years, we could be growing at 10-20% a year on average, which I think is very comfortable.
Oh, yeah.
So there's things I'm not, people always ask, why don't you sell purses? Why don't you sell jewelry? Why don't you open another physical location? You guys are doing so well in Atlanta. And in theory, a lot of those things sound interesting, but I think it's a big believer of kind of sticking to your knitting, knowing your strengths, and as long as you keep growing there, you don't need to go outside of that too much. So while we have content that's different than the content that you guys have, and we're not really looking for that to become a major part of the business. As
far as like new locations, it seems pretty obvious that like if you guys were to take your brand and place it in the heart of Miami, it would be a success. Is that something, I mean, you said you're not looking to do it. Did you ever consider it, or would that ever be a consideration that you would, make if, you felt that, okay, we have real deep saturation here in Buckhead. Let's, see if we can create the same sort of, concept somewhere else.
I had an investor bring it up, and he wanted to partner and have that to be part of the plan. We don't have any outside money. It's fully family-owned business. My parents are involved every single day, which is actually, it's amazing to build a business with the people that you love. And we didn't come for money, so it's kind of nice. Now I know everybody in the family will have security. But as far as opening another location, so we have in Atlanta about 3,000 pieces in inventory right now, and we do really, really well because we're head and shoulders above anybody else in the market. 10, 15x more inventory selection, better team, better pricing, everything. For us to open another location, it sounds nice, but it takes a while to build your reputation in the market, even if you have a national name. Then you got to invest $10, $15 million of inventory to be there. Then you have to have operations teams and managing it all. And it could get expensive, and it could also distract you from your core mission.
It's very true. speaking about a national brand, I mean, you have really killed the whole public relations game when it comes to, being the go-to guy, for a lot of these news publications, New York Times, Maxim Magazine, Forbes, all these things. How are you dealing with the personal fame?
It's funny because you asked me earlier, like, why are you not more in the YouTube videos? And I'm like, I'm not looking to be the face of the business. It's interesting. Like, you guys have built a business with, a couple key leaders becoming the face of it. I actually want the company and the name of the company to be above anyone individually, including myself. As far as personal fame, some people notice it, but I try to kind of keep myself personally out of the limelight. But it's been good. I've been Forbes multiple times, New York Times, Barron's, you name it. Bloomberg has put some stories up with quotes from us, and once you get into a few pieces, the reporters kind of start reaching out because they trust you to give a good relevant quote.
Yeah, you become a credible source for them.
What's interesting about the reporters before I started doing the PR is I didn't realize how tight the deadlines are. They're like, we need a paragraph or a quote. You've got 2.5 hours. Like, what? Like, you realize I might be doing something else. Like, okay, let me go back to my computer and write a couple paragraphs for you.
I wonder if you've ever been sitting in a restaurant and somebody comes over and says, "Hey, I just read that Forbes article with you. That was great. Love the quote." I'm sure it took you a long time to come up with that, not 2.5 hours.
Exactly.
As the CEO of Swiss Watch Expo, what is the most difficult thing that you deal with on a daily basis?
It's my first time building a company, so making sure you build a team that works really, really well together, that's passionate. We have a really, everyone's in office every day. There's no work from home. They're there from 9 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. typically 5 days a week. And they're all very, very passionate. And what I've learned is you could take really qualified and capable people, but if they don't mesh well with the rest of the team, it just doesn't work. And that's like a lesson I had to figure out through mistakes. So the biggest difficulty right now is building out the organization. My parents and I are running the whole company. We don't have management right now outside of us. So we're looking to hire more leadership, hire more people in all departments. We're pretty stretched in a number of different areas. Actually have a salesperson that's going to be joining in a few weeks and another watchmaker joining in 3 weeks as well. So excited for that.
So, I mean, yeah, it's definitely a trade-off to have the family running it, but the best thing about that is trust is never an issue. If I assign you a task or if I ask you to do something, you trust that it's going to get done.
Yep.
Whereas hired help might not be as reliable as family. I've worked with family before, and yes, you never work as hard as when you do it with your family. Like, I completely understand what you're doing there. How can you compare, or how do you compare the previous life that you had in finance to building out this company? Are you trying to model some of the things that you guys are doing here with some of the procedures or I guess hierarchy that you dealt with back in the corporate world, or is there any I know that when you were doing what you were doing, I'm sure there was hustle culture built into that. As a trader, you're constantly, being pushed to work harder, work more, make more money. Is any of that translated into Swiss Watch Expo today?
Yeah, I mean, I really brought the energy of what I felt on the trading desk to the business. We set up the sales desk the same way it would be on Wall Street. I saw a lot of your salespeople are selling on cell phones. Most of our selling is through traditional phones, unless they have to do a Zoom or a FaceTime. And they really very much work as a team. It's very much a team atmosphere, but we order lunch for everyone every day. A lot of people are working through their lunches. It's very much kind of like that Wall Street atmosphere. And also the way they share information, they get up, they yell across the desk like, "Hey, this client is calling back. You were working with them," or, "Hey, this client wants to talk about this watch. I know you're more knowledgeable about it. Can you jump on?" So that flow of information is very much. And we actually have a pretty cool YouTube video. It's called "This is not Wall Street. This is Swiss Watch Expo."
I love that one.
Have you seen that one?
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's pretty fun, right? So it does have that atmosphere.
Do you have like the bro culture in there, like where you guys like mess with each other?
Yeah, a little bit. We did that spoof when I was on Wall Street, where if you were a salesperson or trader and you did the first big sale or trade, they would come over, the MD would come over and cut off your tie, and you'd be walking around with a cut off tie all day, so everybody knew you finally made it, and you did a big deal. So we have that in the video as well.
You ever regret leaving the finance world?
It was fun, and it was an awesome coworkers and network that I had there. But again, there's nothing more rewarding to build something that you own and do it with the ones that you love. So I don't think anything could beat that in the world.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to end this conversation. Eugene, where can our viewers, listeners find you guys? List off the places.
Sure. Swiss Watch Expo on Instagram and YouTube. You're welcome to add me. My personal account's private, but I will add you, Eugene Tutunikov, and just call our team and ask for a FaceTime. And I promise you're going to have an experience like no other when they show you a showcase full of 3,000 watches.
It's, I've seen it and it looks beautiful. It really is amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you like this sort of content. If you do, make sure to subscribe, make sure to comment, make sure to like. If you're listening to this in audio only, please leave the podcast a review, and we will see you guys tomorrow and every day after that if we continue doing this. Have a great day. Take care. Eugene, thank you so much for joining me.
Avi, thank you. It's really good to see you. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed the tour of the office. You guys have a really cool space and a cool team, and everything you guys are doing on marketing, which I know you spearheaded, is absolutely amazing.
I appreciate that. It's really good to hear that. Especially from somebody else in the industry. We obviously, there's a lot of talk. People constantly assume that everybody competes with each other, and it's funny because I just got off a call with Andrew Morgan from Watchfinder, and he's like, a rising tide raises all boats, and I constantly say that, instead of fighting for the same wrists, we're fighting for more people to be interested in getting a watch on their wrist. We want to introduce new audiences, and working together definitely, helps everybody. So thank you very much for being here. I hope you have a great time at your grandfather's 90th birthday. Have a great weekend.
Go Eagles.
Go Eagles, absolutely. Guys, take care. See you tomorrow.
Thanks.